Let's talk about Aristotle, a super important philosopher from ancient Greece. He was a really smart guy who studied tons of stuff, like science, politics, and even art. One of his less famous but still really important works is called Poetics. This book is all about literary theory, especially drama and poetry. We only have parts of the original book left, but it's had a huge impact on how we think about literature and plays for centuries. Aristotle wrote Poetics around 335 BCE, when theatre was a big deal in Greece. He broke down plays piece by piece, like a scientist, to figure out what makes a story really good and moving. He wasn't just studying this for fun, he wanted to help writers and playwrights tell better stories. He believed that understanding how stories work could make them even better. Poetics is like a foundation for studying drama. It set guidelines that have shaped how people write and perform for generations. A big idea in his book is mimesis, which means imitation. Aristotle thought that art imitates life, which helps us understand how stories reflect real life and what it means to be human. Over the years, people have loved, debated, and built upon Aristotle's ideas. His teachings on tragedy especially have been super influential. As we look closer at Poetics, we'll see how these old ideas still matter in how we tell stories today. Aristotle's Poetics gives us a complete guide to understanding tragedy, a popular type of Greek play. He said there are 6 main parts of a tragedy: plot, character, thought, diction, melody, and spectacle. He thought the plot was the most important, like the heart of the play. Aristotle believed a good plot needs a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it has to make sense and fit together well. The plot's job is to create catharsis, a fancy word for the emotional release people feel when they watch a sad story. Seeing the main character fall apart is like an emotional cleansing, which Aristotle thought was good for us. He said a good tragedy should make you feel pity and fear, which helps you understand people and what's right and wrong better. The characters need to be well-rounded and relatable. The main character, or protagonist, shouldn't be perfectly good or totally evil, but should have a flaw called hamartia that leads to their downfall. This flaw makes them human and helps us connect with their story. We feel what they feel and see what happens to them. The other parts, thought, diction, melody, and spectacle, help the plot and characters shine. Thought is about the themes and messages, diction is the words used, melody is the music, and spectacle is what you see on stage. All these parts work together to make a powerful and moving tragedy, showing how much Aristotle understood about plays. Aristotle thought poets were super important for plays and stories. Unlike historians who have to tell the facts, poets can make things up. Aristotle believed poets should focus on what could happen, not just what did happen, to make stories more exciting and emotional. For Aristotle, a poet is like a builder of plots and characters. They create stories that show us universal truths about being human. They have to be creative, but also keep things realistic. By telling great stories that people connect with, poets teach us about life and ourselves. Aristotle said poets need to understand how people think and feel. A good poet knows about human emotions and motivations, which helps them create believable characters and situations. This makes their stories not just fun to watch, but also thought-provoking, making us think about our own lives. Aristotle also knew that poets use language to make stories more emotional. The words, rhythm, and style are key to setting the mood. Poets can make us feel strong emotions through their clever use of language, making their work unforgettable. Basically, Aristotle saw poets as visionaries who could turn ordinary things into something amazing. Aristotle believed the plot is the most important part of a play, even more important than the characters. A well-built plot makes sure the story makes sense and keeps you interested from start to finish. Aristotle thought a good plot should be complete and self-contained, where each event leads to the next. Everything should be connected. This creates a feeling that things have to happen a certain way, as the story moves towards its climax and ending. This makes the audience feel totally involved in the story, experiencing all the emotions intensely. Aristotle also came up with the idea of peripeteia, which is a sudden change in the character's luck, usually for the worse. This turning point is when things go downhill for the main character, along with anagnorisis, the moment when the character realizes something important. These plot twists make the story more exciting and emotional. The audience gets pulled into the drama, feeling the character's realization and what happens after. Aristotle also said that things in the plot should make sense and happen for a reason. Events should follow logically, like cause and effect. This helps the audience believe the story. By creating plots that feel like real life, playwrights can tell stories that really connect with people, showing how Aristotle's ideas about storytelling are still relevant today. Aristotle's ideas about tragedy and storytelling have had a huge impact on how we tell stories today. You can see his ideas about plot and characters in books, movies, and plays. Even now, writers and filmmakers use his principles to create exciting stories that grab our attention and make us feel things. Catharsis, the emotional release Aristotle talked about, is still a powerful tool in modern stories. Movies like Schindler's List and The Shawshank Redemption take you on an emotional roller coaster, ending with a feeling of release and reflection. These stories are like Aristotle's idea of tragedy, where the audience goes through a big emotional change. Aristotle's influence is bigger than just individual stories. The three-act structure, which is common in movies, is similar to his idea of a beginning, middle, and end. This structure makes stories easy to follow and keeps us interested. It shows how important Aristotle's ideas are, even in how we structure stories today. Also, Aristotle's focus on character flaws and moral problems is still used in stories today. Shows like Breaking Bad and plays like Macbeth explore ambition and pride, showing how a character's flaws can destroy them. These stories show how important it is to have relatable and complex characters, proving that Aristotle's ideas about human nature and drama are still true today. Aristotle's Poetics has had a huge and lasting impact on literature and plays. His detailed study of tragedy and storytelling created the foundation for how we think about and critique stories. Aristotle's theories still shape how stories are created and told today, showing how universal his ideas are. The ideas in Poetics have lasted through time and different cultures, giving storytellers a guide that still works today. His focus on the plot as the most important part of a story and the importance of well-developed characters are key to understanding how drama works. Aristotle has changed not only how we study literature, but also how we write and perform it. Aristotle's exploration of human emotions and the moral lessons in stories has encouraged writers to explore the human mind more deeply. This has led to stories that challenge, provoke, and inspire us, showing how poets can entertain and teach at the same time. His ideas are still important in schools and in the creative world, which is a big part of his legacy. To sum it up, Aristotle's Poetics is still a great resource for anyone who loves stories. His ideas give us a timeless way to understand people and the power of storytelling. As long as we tell stories, Aristotle's influence will continue to guide and enrich how we experience literature and drama